I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked.
May I most respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, I'm certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
The United States Army Reserve and all of the reserves in the United States would be reorganized to conform to the configuration of FEMA.
Take a look at the patch on their uniforms, because this is what you'll mostly be staring at after a major terrorist attack. It's the mark of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, police. FEMA's most important role would come after a major terrorist attack. The minute the declares a national emergency, FEMA becomes the boss. Federal documents lay out plans for what will happen to you if you survive. It's called consequence management. Executive orders going back to John F. Kennedy and the Cold War kick in. Order number 11002 directs the Postmaster General to register all residents, including the mayor, so movement and relocation can be controlled. Executive Order 10995 says FEMA takes over all radio and TV. Order 10997, FEMA takes over gas stations and electric companies. Order 10998, FEMA takes over grocery stores and farms. Order 10999, FEMA controls movements of cars and boats. Order number 11,000, FEMA can suspend wage laws and put labor forces to work without pay. Order number 11,001, FEMA takes over hospitals and schools. FEMA answers only to the National Security Council and the President. Congress cannot intervene for 6 months.
So, since the 50s, they have been putting the pieces together, little by little, never enough to cause concern or widespread alarm that would expose and destroy their plan. Not to mention the fact that executive orders have no constitutional authority, and, believe it or not, go all the way back to George Washington, who used an executive order, the very first one ever issued, to declare all of the states as districts, illegally subverting the 10th Amendment, protecting states' rights. Bringing us this massive bureaucracy we call the government, whose only concern is how to gain more and more power over its citizens, even to the point of experimenting on them.
Could a strange substance found by a Southwest Arkansas man be part of a government test? Well, that's the question at the heart of a phenomenon called chemtrails, now getting widespread attention. Well, tonight, KSLA News 12 investigation reporter Jeff Farrell shows us the results of testing we had done about what's in our skies.
It seemed like some mornings it was just crisscrossing the whole sky. It was just like a giant checkerboard.
Bill Nichols snapped several photos of the strange clouds from his home in Stamps, Arkansas. They begin as normal contrails from a jet engine, but do not fade away like a normal contrail. Soon after, he saw particles in the air.
You know, because we'd see it drop to the ground in a haze.
Nichols then noticed the material collecting on the ground.
This is water and stuff that I collected in bowls. I had it set out in my backyard on my dad's pickup truck.
KSLA News 12 had the sample tested at a lab. The results? A high level of barium, 6.8 parts per million, more than 3 times the toxic level set by the EPA.
Armed with these lab results about the high levels of barium found in our sample, we decided to contact the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. They told us that, yes, these levels are very unusual, but at the same time, they added the caveat that proving the source is a whole nother matter.
Barium is a hallmark of other chemtrail testing, which even attracted attention from a Los Angeles TV station. There's already no shortage of unclassified weather modification programs by the government. But those who fear chemtrails could be secret biological or chemical testing on the public point to the 1977 Senate hearings in particular, which confirmed 239 populated areas had been contaminated with biological agents between 1949 and 1969. Later, the 1994 Rockefeller Report concluded hundreds of thousands of military personnel were also subjected to secret biological experiments over the last 60 years. But could secret testing be underway yet again?
I'd rather it be something inert and benign, something that's, not causing any damage, but I'd like to know what it is.
KSLA News 12 discovered chemtrails are even mentioned by name in the initial draft of House Bill 2977 back in 2001 under the Space Preservation Act. But the military denies any such program exists.
And it turns out until 9 years ago, the government had the right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public under specific conditions. Only a public outcry repealed part of that law with some exceptions.
Now, here's where it gets interesting and should concern us all. For the past 2 decades, Big Pharma has been putting out drug after drug to treat symptom after symptom. No cures, just an ever longer list of expensive drugs that we are told to tell our doctor that we need. The question of whether or not that is really narco-trafficking can be put aside for now. But as you watch the rest of this, ask yourself, when was the last time you watched mainstream news that didn't have drug advertisers as their main sponsor?
Now, Jeff's report mentioned high levels of barium linked to those alleged chemtrails. We wanted to find out exactly what effects barium has on the body. We spoke with Mark Ryan, the director of the Poison Control Center. Ryan tells KSLA News 12 that short-term exposure can lead to anything from stomach to chest pains. Long-term exposure causes blood pressure problems. Ryan addressed concerns by chemtrail researchers that barium could be meant to wear down a person's immune system.
Anything that causes ill effects in the body long-term chronically is going to affect your ability because it's constantly working on the body. So from that aspect, yeah, it's a potential.
Next, the true story about the creation of the swine flu that you would never see on the mainstream news. Remember the lies that are being spread about the real number of cases of H1N1. The reason for these lies are explained here.
An American investigative journalist who claims that swine flu strains have been engineered in 2 universities in the US and Canada says they've been deliberately designed to resist vaccines. Wayne Madsen also says that his so-called nightmare scenario in which swine flu could mutate with bird flu has been suppressed by the World Health Organization for political reasons. He joins me now, live from Washington. Wayne, what exactly is your accusation then? Are you saying that swine flu was actually manufactured? Why on earth would anyone want to do that, and why? What, and who?
Well, there's a variety of reasons for that. One is, of course, that it would increase sales for new vaccine manufacturers in the pharmaceutical industry. The other would be to just create this worldwide crisis. We know a lot of people thrive economically on crazy situations. I reported in May that after speaking to people who are researching, these are scientists researching this new hybrid flu, that it was basically engineered from genetic material taken from a dead Inuit woman who died of the 1918 pandemic, also known as the Spanish flu.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.